Vidura. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnaprishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Today Balaram Shakti Prabhu is traveling, so we'll not have discussion from Vishnu Chakravarti's commentary. We'll directly have Prabhupada purport reading today. We'll start with some, because now it's third canto for all of us. It's a very important chapter. It has two volumes. This is one of the, I think, third biggest canto. And we will discuss some important topics in this section. So first is the prison of ego. The question is, why does duality take over us? So this will be the topic of discussion in the beginning. We'll have this discussion and then we will proceed. Why duality take over us? Why is it difficult to give our whole heart to God despite knowing, despite having fact, we have a desire to give our heart, Lord, and we have this as the goal. So why do material desire continue to regain our heart, even though we have awakened to the truth that no material pleasure or haunts or opulences will satisfy us? Why we are not able to give up this duality and surrender? Especially duality, which is blocking us. Krishna says that Esham Tantagatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dandamoha Nirmukta Bhajante Mam Dadabata. Where in Bhagavad Gita it says 7.28 that persons who have acted piously in the previous lives and this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and free from the duality of delusions, they engage themselves in uh, my service with determination. So the point is the sins and offenses we have committed in this life and previous life have left a deep mark in our mind, and they prevent us from fully concentrating on service to God. That means it takes time to be purified from the through the process of devotional service. So agha means, which is imprint. That means sin leaves a deep imprint or mark, sanskaras, which impels us to repeat the experience which we have. That means sin reinforces the soul. It's ignorant, especially ignorance, identification with matter. The sin is making us more and more into Dehatma Buddhi and concentrate our focus on the dualities of the world. So we'll be so much disturbed with good, bad, I like, I don't like because of sinful activity. And this is called Dvanda Moha. We are into Moha of Dvanda. The duality consists of Raga and Dvesha, attachment and aversion. Now, the stronger these two programs, Raga and Dvesha, I like, I don't like, the lesser freedom we have. Correct. Because enslaved in a cycle of sin, we become unable to serve God because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That is the same. Like in Bhaktra Sindhi also, there is Kamadinam Katita Kantita Pala Durnidesha. Tesham Jata Maya Me. So this shloka says, my dear Lord, there is no limit to the unwanted orders of lusty desires. Although I have rendered them so much of service, they have shown no mercy unto me. I have not been ashamed to serve them, nor I have even desired to give them up. This is actually what is the state of all the people. Because our consciousness is weighed down by the influence of the countless past sinful actions that pull us back, so our heart splits. Now, the stronger the material attachments, the deeper and more agonizing is the duality, and more severe is the internal conflict. In public, we are one person, and private, we are another person. We think one thing, we say one thing, and we do something else. Constantly, the playing the role, wearing various false faces. So initially, there is initial duality blocks us our understanding of who we are really, and it separates us from our true self. That we cannot distinguish between ourselves and the roles we play. That's the problem. The worst still is that this internal disunity separates us from Krishna. That is the main problem. So, due to the sins and offenses committed, we lose connection with Krishna. So, those who have committed serious crimes, their imprisoned are put into more solitary confinement, right? So, similarly, those who are guilty of many sins find themselves trapped in the prison of their own egos. That is the problem. People say, "Arey, this person is performing sinful activity, still is enjoying." But the problem is it's not enjoyment, he is getting caught up. Like say, "Arey, he cheated and he make millions of dollars." He cheated millions of dollars, but what happened? He became prisoner and he is confined to his own ego. That means this is actually the confinement which we are creating with our ego. This ego, this is a prisoner of their egos. The walls, what they do, they separate us from God and other peoples. Therefore, real human existence begins the moment we relinquish material attachments and when we restore the spiritual integrity of ourselves and break free from the prison of this false ego. So, any people who are enjoying more or committing sins and enjoying any of these things, they are actually increasing their ego. That is the problem. Why people say, "Yehi sansparsha bhoga dukha yone hote." The sense gratification is dangerous in this material world. Yes, it is dangerous because it is causing us imprisoned. So that is the main reason. It is making us more into more bodily conscious. We may feel, "Oh, this person is very successful. He had made so much money. He is enjoying so nicely." Yes, he made money. He's enjoying so nicely, but he's becoming prisoner of his ego. That is the problem. Our intelligence is awakened, and we realize our deplorable state. No? We start begging to Krishna, "Oh, make me free from this bondage of sin and allow me to serve you." And that is where the prayers starts properly. It says, "Oh, my dear Lord of Edu, my mind is recently awakened and I have decided to leave my cruel activities, and please help me to come out of this. Please may engage me in your service." And Kunti also says, "No, Twaime Nanna Vishya Matir Madhupate Asukut Rati Muddhato Madham Gange Ogamadamati." Like how the Ganges flows into the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn onto you. So that's a prayer, he says. And now, important point is when we do this prayer and we come to this state, then only we will be able to becoming free from loneliness and death. It is like if our intelligence is sleeping, then it is impossible to understand that we are imprisoned in the dungeons of our false ego, and restoration of our integrity, which is not possible. Like we sincerely pray only for material well-being for ourselves and our loved ones. This everybody is doing. But instead of begging to be free from prison, we beg God for more comfortable prison cell. This is the problem. The prayers, people say, "Should we not pray for good health? Should we not pray for good family? Should we not pray for?" Yes, that is prayer, but more important prayer is to come out of the prison. We are asking, "Lord, make my prison house in a comfortable. Arrange an AC and you give me a smart TV and some other facilities in my prison house." Krishna is telling, "I can make you out of the prison also." But the person remains a prisoner, with this prisoner doomed in loneliness and death. Now, there are two main prime existential problems that are loneliness and fear of impending death. Now, one is because one arises from our intuitive sense of immortality, because we are Sat. The soul is always eternal and it feels. But at the same time, we know that the material body we have deeply identified is doomed to death. I'm going to die. I know I want to be eternal, but I'm facing this death. So every particle of our consciousness cries out against this. And I don't want to die, but the cruel time prevails over, and so this is it makes us inexplorably bringing us closer to death. This is actually what happens. Now the second is loneliness. So first is death, and second is loneliness is also generated by the clash of our spiritual and material natures. So, eternal soul is generous by nature. It wants nothing but to love. It wants to serve. It wants to give. It wants to seek to the infinity. While the false ego is building walls between us and others. You are seeing the difference? As a spirit soul, we want to be generous. We want only nothing but love. We want to give, and we want to and seek to be infinitely small. But false ego binds us. Is actually it builds a wall between us and others, and focusing us to appreciate everything possible. Now, this false ego guards our independence. This is the first thing. What does false ego do? It guards our independence. It deprives us of our intimacy, fellowship, and relationship with others. This false ego is the cause. And this actually condemns us to loneliness, this false ego only. And no one knows how great was the torment behind the closed doors of my solitude. This is actually what is happening. Now, the problems are especially in the Western way of living, or Western civilization, or now India is also having the same life, which is materialistic basically. Even West also, before the Industrial Revolution, they were also proper. And after Industrial Revolution, everything changed. It became Western. It became more corporate, which is Western. Now, which is basically directed outward and extrovert. This is this is what is becoming more and more successful nowadays. It is successfully dominating material energy, and it is winning victory over victory, and it distracts. And now this is the important thing. What is the problem? People say, should we not work hard? Should we not gain success? Should we not achieve the heights of the corporate? Yet the problem is it is directed outwards, and it is and prevents person from looking deep within himself. He lives a very superficial life, which does not allow him to gain sense of immortality. And at the same time, individualism, and this makes a person very happy. Sorry, very unhappy and unwanted and loneliness. Now people started to avoid this unhappiness with drugs, alcohol, sex, computer games, and temporary facilities, and to forget death in social media networks, which generates such a great illusion. It makes a person feels that he's fighting loneliness with this social media. But none of this they can solve the problems, because the false ego build walls around ourselves to keep out God and feel like an independent supreme ruler ourselves. I am independent. And people think that this is actually individualism, and this individualistic who separates our interest from God. That is what people what they are thinking is we are independent. No, you are getting separated from God. And the same walls also separate us from other people. So this false ego separating us from Krishna also, and others also. And This we face every time we try to enter deep relation with others. Then we can see the false ego is stopping. Why so many divorce rates are increasing? Why people are not able to trust anyone? Why they are not able to develop relationship? It is all because of this. Such a loneliness. People, they don't have anybody to trust. Why? Because the false ego only. It is not the problem of other people. Everybody has made their false ego so strong, and they are deprived of the experience of real love. Our effort to we try to develop relationship, but we crash to the wall of false ego of our pride, our arrogance, which are all created by false ego only. Pride, arrogance. We are going to develop a relationship, but I run out, but I'm crashing to the wall which I made. So this is an imprisonment of the cells. We cannot uh, we people die in the delusion of loneliness. That's all. We long to give ourselves, give up our individuality, and we want to forget ourselves in love. But because we have separated ourselves from Krishna, that's why we lost this ability, and we are not able to understand. We are not able to associate with others, serve others. And then what happens? This is a state of total existential crisis, and there is constantly fear. That is what happens. A person is fearful because he's lonely. That is the cause. And now what happens? As and both existential problems of loneliness, fear are intimately interconnected. What happens is our material ego, no, it separates us from Krishna and other living beings and gives us a false sense of independence and pride. At the same time, it dooms us to death since our temporary material identity is false. So, because of this false identity, we are fearful of death because I am identifying. If I am not identifying, then there is no cause of death only for me. Who is dead? Who identifies with the body only, he dies every time. If I one time say I don't identify with my body, I'm liberated. I'll not get any death. After this body, I get eternal body. That is the simple formula. As long as I'm identifying, I get more and more bodies. If I don't identify with the body, then the subtle body does not get another gross body. It will get a spiritual body. That is the formula. And that is why as soon as we restore our connection to Krishna, we immediately feel inexhaustibly related to all other uh, we feel related to all other living beings, and then we stop fearing death also, like that. Now there are so many things to understand, that the great way, the path to develop relation with Krishna is actually Sharanagati. One who has realized his helplessness and is desperate at solving their existential problem, one who had tried on his own, then he will understand, Array, it does not solve. So let me make sincere prayers to Krishna. Let me surrender. So that is the path that is called Sharanagati. Now, people, well, especially the modern people, they want to be independent from the birth only. Now they are teaching to be independent and stand your own leg. Now it becomes very difficult for them because spiritual practice is where the divinity is represented, especially impersonalism, Buddhism. They are very popular nowadays. They are becoming popular because it has individuality. They want to be individual, separate, and it is actually it's an attempt to solve materialistic this existential problem of fear and loneliness, which is generated by false ego with without submission, because there is no need of surrender in that. And what happens, to some extent they may relieve us of one problem, that fear of death, but loneliness cannot be solved. That means in Brahman, They're free of death. They get Brahman. But if they may not get Brahman, Buddhists and all, impersonalists may get. But at least if their practices, even now, they are fearless of death. But loneliness continues because bhakti is the only answer. That means Sharanagati. When we trust in God and realize that the root of all our problems is false ego, which is tightly identifying with matter, and it is intertwined in countless attachments, and then we have no power to get rid of it. So then we start taking shelter of Krishna. Now we have to, it's a prayer we have to do for Krishna to plead him from this, to make us free from this ego. Now there is a problem. Now Krishna comes with, we will pray to Krishna, just please come and destroy, big hammer and destroy my false ego. Now I have constructed this fortress myself and I am hiding within it. And I am trying to shoot everyone who is coming towards my false ego, unable to know about myself. I have become the prisoner of my ego. And on my own, I am powerless to break this. So, this is what we understand. And we sincerely pray, please come to me and destroy it. If we do not destroy this fortress, then we say, okay, I will remain pitifully completely in this prison house. Now, we pray. Now, the point is the bhakti is not sharanagati, it is a prerequisite. It's a great way out of the prison of the material ego into the realm of love of freedom, love and freedom. It is not actually bhakti, but it's a great way. We need to surrender. So there is no other way other than sharanagati, surrendering. But not everyone is able to pass through this doorway because the false ego is so powerful and it is a big obstacle for many of the people. It is said that camel can pass through the eye of a needle, but a rich man cannot enter into more. It is actually, it is more easy to send a camel through the eye of a needle than a rich man to the kingdom of God. That is the Bible, they say. Because it looks like, what is the logic? How can you send it? Because that we need to get rid of our false ego, our own, and therefore we should take help of Krishna. This is what we need to do. It's a vicious cycle. See, because of our ego, I am not able to surrender to Krishna. And if I don't surrender to Krishna, I cannot come out of ego. So how does it work? It's a fallacy, right? You are telling that ego is the cause of your trouble, and you need to get rid of ego, you need to surrender to Krishna. But to surrender to Krishna, I need to give up ego. So this is the problem. So it is difficult for a proud person to sincerely turn to God. If our false ego is too big, we cannot pass through the doorway of this Sharanagati. So that's why in South Indian temples the doorways are sometimes very small. So the person has to bend down and go. But Krishna is generously, he is sending where it comes. That's why Krishna sends the problems. He sends the calamities, adversities in the life of devotees so that he feels helpless and he shakes off our excess ignorance. And then we start praying earnestly. And it is this kind of prayer that is what is Sharanagati. We will enter into the realm of Supreme Lord. So this is the way everything happens. This is how the Lord created the system. He made us go through this problem so that he can shake our existence and make us feel like Arjuna is surrendering to Krishna in the battle of Kurukshetra. And when Ashwatthama released Brahmastra, that time also Arjuna surrenders. So Krishna Mahabahu. Then Uttara also comes and surrenders to Krishna. And we see Kunti Maharani is surrendering, Bhishma Devi is surrendering before he is leaving, and Yudhishthir is surrendering, Parikshit Maharaj is surrendering. So, and then here Vyas Maharshi is surrendering, Narada is surrendering. So, all these great personalities are surrendering to Krishna. Brahma is surrendering. in the previous canto. And now we see here Maitreya, Uddhava, Vidura. Everybody is showing the same thing. They come and surrender to Krishna. And they experience a great joy and bliss in their life. And here we see now important thing is that this is the very important. Now hearing the Saunakadrishis and Sutagas, they also surrender. So these are all helping us to understand. So one who hears Bhagavatam and understand in this way, they make so much progress. Understanding the purpose is to make a surrender to Krishna. And then that is Ashraya. We need take shelter of Krishna, right? That is the 10th topic of Bhagavatam, ultimately indicating the 10th topic. So here now we are starting we completed successfully 2 cantos of Prabhupada purport reading, and now we are in the 3rd canto. Now, very interesting is Bhagavatam. Every, like say, I spoke so many things now, but there actually I'm answering few questions. So today, now whatever discussion we had, I answered few questions. First is the prison house of false ego. What is how the false ego is making us the confinement, but how we are kept in the prison. And I told 2 fundamental problems: the loneliness and fear of death. And what is the cause of loneliness? What is the fear of death? So I am answering few questions. When I am speaking, I am basically answering these questions. What is the cause of fear, loneliness? What is false ego doing to us? And how this modern way of living is increasing our false ego. And then I told what is the solution? Okay, modern way of solutions. They go for drugs, alcohol, sex, and all these things. It is not solving. Even other spiritual means like Buddhism or impersonalism, which are very popular now. Why? Because people want to be independent. And that is to some extent solving the problem of fear, but not loneliness. And then we come to the problem how to solve it. The only thing is we have to go for Sharanagati. We have to request Krishna to break this false ego because on our own we cannot do. But the problem is we don't go to Krishna because the false ego itself is an obstacle for going to Krishna. Now, what to do in that situation? So, Krishna mercifully arranges if I have a desire. So, the first question which we discussed is why am I affected by this duality? Because this duality is what is not allowing us to come closer to Krishna, right? Even in spite of knowing all the facts, I am not able to come to Krishna because of this duality. I know I have a desire to go to Krishna and all. Why? Because of sin. More sin we do, more we are confined to our false ego. You are seeing the connection? The person he enjoys in this world or he commits sins. Of course, enjoying means he will definitely commit sin. Somebody may enjoy legally, but both the things, either you enjoy legally, illegally. The point is, it is increasing our false ego. It is increasing our dehatma buddhi. It is making us identify with our body and senses. That is the problem. That means when we go to Krishna and ask anything material in this world, basically what we are doing, we are telling, make my prison house more comfortable with AC and other facilities, smart TV and all. So this is what is the point here. And then the false ego which is holding us is not allowing us to surrender. And then I want to come out of it, I need to take shelter of Krishna. But I cannot take because already a false ego. So then what I do? Then Krishna, if I have a desire to go to him, then Krishna sends calamity. And that will help us shake our ignorance and come to Krishna. Oh, so what I'm telling is I am just answering few questions, right? When I'm speaking means is basically answer a few questions. So Bhagavatam also when you see there are so many questions, basically what is this questions? This is any class is answers of the questions only. Bhagavatam, what it does, it gives the questions before. So this is a question and this is the answer. These are the question, this is the answer. So in that way, we'll be able to get answers for very, very fundamental questions, which are very, very helpful for our spiritual growth. That's why there is always question answers, question answers. Don't say why question answers? Because we need answers for certain questions which are very fundamental, helpful for us. So we'll start. Any questions, comments till now? We'll just take in the chat box first. Question on false ego that separates us from Krishna and others. When we take up bhakti, we are We are on the path of letting go false ego, but this also separates us from non-devotees. To be precise, most part of the world as it pushes away from materialistic way of life. It is making us free from materialistic way of life, but it is not separating us from non-devotees. We say Ishware tadadineshu maitreshu prema maitri kripa apeksha यह madhyama. This is madhyama's position. So sorry, yeah, prema maitri kripa apeksha. So यह करोसि samadhyam. So the madhyamadhikari na, he knows how to deal with people properly. He has given up his ego, so he developed loving relation with the superiors and supreme lord, equal and friendly relations with his equals, and then he prema, he shows compassion to the people who are lower than him or little ignorant. He tried to show compassion, and then people who are already fixed up with something else, he keeps distance from them to protect himself. That's how we are not, ego is not separating us. We feel compassion for them and we try to show compassion in terms of we try to give some prasadam, this that. So that's how we are relating. It's not separating us. Separating when it happens in mm, kanishta adhikari state. He feels, oh, these are all non-devotees. He is like trying to, because of that fanatic mentality will be there, some sentimentalism is there. That's why he separates them. But once we become more stable, we don't separate them, we feel compassion. Even if they come to us, we relate to them in little bit and try to help them to become closer to Krishna. So that's how it does. It does not change our it does not change how we are. It changes our view, but we don't feel separated because everybody is part of Krishna. So we have to respect them and trying to help them accordingly. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams. Am I audible, Prabhuji? Yeah. Prabhuji, like in our life, what we see is like right in front of us, we see devotees like, Uttamadhikaris and Madhyamadhikaris with unwavering devotion towards the Lord, very one-pointed focus, um, who are live examples apart from the, examples we hear about Kunti and Bhishmadev and so many other from the Bhagavatam. Live examples right in front of us. But at the same time, what I see is I find a gap between where I'm living and in terms of, practically converting whatever I listen and I want to be like, because when I see the examples right in front of me of my Maharaj or say teachers like Radhesham Prabhuji or Balram Shakti Prabhuji, these are all live examples. Like they're so amazing. I mean, that one pointed devotion is like, unfathomable actually. So, but again, from where I stay and I live, uh, within the fold of so many materialistic people. I mean, I myself am materialistic, um, cannot deny that, but at the same time there's a longing to break beyond all these things and emulate some values from the live examples. So how do I do it? Because earlier, before coming to Krishna consciousness, one example, because you were talking about loneliness, I can speak on that. In the sense, when we were in a cantonment area, it is cut off from the outside world. Neither can you go out, and it's also safely guarded from outside people. So at that time, when there was so much of loneliness, I used to see it more as solitude, because that's where you can actually learn and grow a lot or progress in life. But that was not a spiritual thought, it was more like a positive thought. But right now, we are seeing spiritual people in front of us. We want to emulate values from them. So, but I see a gap. So, how do I practically overcome the difficult situations and emulate from them?
Whereas the two, three things, of course, many solutions, but one thing is, Mataji, we want to come to certain level, and that level, what you are seeing, is actually Nishta stage. All the all the people whom you are seeing who are fixed up is basically Nishta. They don't have distraction. They are focused. Focused is basically when they come to the stage of Nishta. And how do we come to that stage? That is one thing. We want to come to the stage of Nishta where you can see the people are very focused and very fixed up. And that is when we are regulated in our life. We are able to do the same activity every day, day in and day out, day in and day out, same activity again and again and again, and we do. Then that is what is called Nishta. We, no matter what happens, all the seasons we are there in morning Bhagavatam class. That means we are seasoned devotees. That means no matter if it is raining or it is snow or it is hot or anything, I am there for morning. No matter whatever, I wake up in the morning. No matter whatever, I complete my chanting. So this is what we have to achieve. At the end of the day, our mind should be able to, in spite of all the distractions, if you are able to sit and hear Bhagavatam regularly and do your chanting regularly, despite of anything, whatever is happening in the world, you are consistently doing it year after year after year, then what happens? All our anarthas will go away gradually and we come to the stage of Nishta. So basically, what you are seeing them is Nishta stage. And we need to come to that stage means Nishta basically is we want to develop the taste for Bhagavatam. Without taste for Bhagavatam, nobody can go to spiritual world. There is no question of law only. Everybody has to come to this class every day. Not this class or any class, they have to do it every day. They have to Nityam Bhagavat Seva is compulsory for anyone who want to go to spiritual world. There is no option only. That means whatever I am doing presently is what I am doing right. Let me do it more consciously. That's all. You are not doing. You are not doing anything. You are doing, but you have to do it more consciously and more intensely. And activity is same only. You are already doing consistently. You are coming for all these classes, and you are very attentively listening and trying to sincerely understand the subject. That itself is showing that your consistency has increased, and we have to be more consistent and regulated, and that is what is the formula. There is no shortcut. What is happening is when we see some senior devotees, we say, why am here, why there? We don't see how many lifetimes they did. I just came to Krishna consciousness this lifetime. They may be doing from 10 lifetimes. So there is a difference. And to overcome the difference, of course, it's not in terms of lifetime also, intensity, how they practice. We can also come to that stage, but this is only the process. Let me do it more in a regulated way. Let me intensify. And another thing is when you say confinement, na, the confinement is not actually a physical proximity. Now we are all very far from each other, but we are connected through Bhagavatam. This is actually the connection we want. We are intimately connected through Bhagavatam. We want to discuss, we want to be the devotees who are sitting and discussing Bhagavatam. How important whoever is coming for our Bhagavatam. If we are alone, we cannot have such a nice discussions. We are having discussions because some devotees are attending and they're asking questions, and that is actually the intimate connection. Why? Because Krishna is in the center. That's why it is very intimate. Intimate connection is only when Krishna is there with us. Like when Amarendra Prabhu told Radhanand Maharaj, Maharaj, I want to be always in your association. Then Radhanand Maharaj says, I want to be a speck of dust at the lotus feet of Radha Govind Maharaj. Amarendra Prabhu is also a disciple of Radha Govind Maharaj. So if you also want to be a speck of dust of Radha Govind Maharaj, I also want to be speck of dust of Radha Govind Maharaj. In that way, both of us we can eternally stay together. So the point is what? Our intimacy is how much we are discussing Krishna with each other. That is actually intimacy. And we can overcome loneliness in that way because we have Krishna with each other. You also have Krishna, we also have Krishna, we're discussing Krishna. So it's not, previously it was not possible, but now because of Zoom and this internet and all, we are able to connect and we are still sitting and discussing Bhagavatam. So this is how we should release the association of devotees and classes and all. That's all. We are doing it. We have to come to the stage of Nishtha. Basically, we have to aspire. At the end of this life now, we should come to the stage of Nishtha. That's all. We have crossed. Because after Nishtha, the path is like downhill. It is uphill now for us. Like that.
So
Clear?
after Nishta, things are even more concentrated. So that becomes much simpler, you mean to say, Prabhuji?
Yeah, because what happens, our anarthas don't trouble us anymore. When you come to stage of Nishtha, there is no distraction for mind. Mind will not go to the any materialistic activities. It is just is interested more and more with Krishna. Mind is completely purified. So I told that the reason for our false ego and our in lack of these things, even though knowing that this is what I need to do, but why we are stuck up with dualities? Because of the sins of the past life. But slowly, slowly, with our practice of devotional service, they all go behind. The impressions go away. The sanskaras don't force us anymore. We are just interested in Krishna. Even suddenly somebody comes and talks some other things. It is so painful. How can I hear about other things? No, I just want to hear about Krishna. Some movie ad or some advertisement, something may pop up. But we may say, but I don't want this. I just want Krishna. So we become. And what happens is when we start releasing so much Krishna within us, then anybody comes, we are so happy to tell them about Krishna. We become so happy that because we are internally so happy in connection to Krishna, we want to share it with others. So that's how life becomes much more easier for them.
So, Prabhuji, one more thing additionally to what you have spoken, that intense desire is there to go beyond. So Lord is actually very, very merciful. He is always listening to our prayers. He knows our heart. But I feel that as an instrument, I have certain anarthas. Maybe they are stopping me. Is that the only reason? Apart from the sins and the anarthas, what else could be the reason?
Yeah, yeah. The anarthas are because of the sins only. That is, the impressions are what is anarthas, which are blocking us from going towards Krishna. So when we when we reduce our doing of sinful activities, which we are anyway not doing, and also not creating further impressions by if we are enjoying more and more sense gratification, we are increasing our sanskaras, which are deep imprints, and which will not allow us to go to Krishna. So that's why we have to have a very simple life. We should not do so much sense gratification because it will not help us. So two things. One is we don't do so much sinful activity which we are not doing. Second thing is don't do so much sense gratification. These two are yahi sansparsha bhoga dukha yonevate. So when we do more sense gratification, that is also blockage. So live a simple life, no sinful activities, and then practice bhakti. So this is what we are supposed to do, which will help us to come to the stage of Nishtha very soon. This is the formula. So the what is blocking us is this only. And of course, another thing is offenses. One is sin, another is offense. Now, when we are practicing, we should be attentive, attentive to deities, devotees, holy name. This is also another thing because since this offenses are now the blockages, we may not have so many anarthas, but the presently what we are doing sinful activities, sorry, the offenses with any of these things, that is also another danger. We should not commit offenses. All the offenses, the root of offenses is inattentiveness. That is lack of respect. We should be very respectful to Bhagavatam, devotees, holy name, deities, and then in that way we will not have any problems. It will become easier.
Yeah, and apart from that, I think the blessings from Vaishnavas definitely help. So I'm requesting you and begging you, please pray for me that, I reach a stage where I can go beyond all this, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Trying, Mataji. Because of all of you, I am able to every day sit. Otherwise, there is no option only. Because now I have to speak means I need some audience. So this is the advantage. Why we keep more and more classes so that we always remain with devotees and continue to discuss about Krishna. And in spite of so many sanskars and others, it protects us from going in that direction and staying with devotees. Basically, it's a self-protection for me. I am trying. I am trying to do some service, but its service is more to save myself. to so I am very grateful to all of you that you kindly come every day and attend the sessions. Except
Actually, you and Balram Shakti Prabhu are doing such wonders in our lives. I mean, even each moment, if we keep on paying our gratitude, that won't be sufficient, Prabhuji. Thank you all so much for what you do to make us better people and to help us in our devotional life. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I'm grateful to all of you. Okay, the another question is when we talk of take up bhakti, all the sins are but even past sins, isn't it, Prabhu? So automatically false ego will be reduced. Please, yes. When we come to bhakti, we start only with false ego. We are directly hitting false ego. What we do, we try to this false ego which is holding us, we are trying to give a real ego. You are saying I am servant of Krishna, gopir bhartor padakamalyor dasa dasa anudasa. So this identity only we are hitting, the identify with the body. Instead of that, I am identifying myself as servant of Krishna. So the degree we are identifying ourselves as servant of Krishna, to that degree we are free from sin. And by the time I completely free from all these reactions and all, I'm completely as a servant of Krishna. There is no question of any sinful reactions. It's all controlled by Krishna. But still what we get in our life is because of the impressions only we have. It does not go fast. Krishna is helping us, but he gives slowly. He does not do it overnight. Exceptional cases, some ajnat, sorry, some kripa siddhis, it may happen. But for us, it happens gradually. There is no sin, but what is there is there are two ways to understand this. Uh, there is something called the impressions. Impressions are still there, but the reactions which we need to get, it will not come. When you perform activity, two things happen. One is reaction, one is the impression. The reaction part is taken by Krishna. He will see how much reaction we get, but the impressions are still there. And because of the impressions, we are acting in a particular. So not that as soon as I come to bhakti, the way I am behaving, it does not immediately go. If I am an angry person, I continue to remain angry person for many years. And I came to bhakti. I am supposed to be free from karma. I need not be angry now because my karma is my impressions, right? Why I am like this? Because of my previous karma. But as soon as you come to bhakti, your karma should go. Yes, karma, the two aspects of karma, no, one is gone. One aspect is, say if I beat someone, so two things happen. One is my tendency to beat will continue to increase because I experience some pleasure in beating others. And second thing is when I beat somebody, he got pain. So that will give me a reaction. So the pain will come to me in another form. Somebody else will give me pain. Somebody else will give me pain because I inflicted pain. And along with that, because I experienced some pleasure in beating him, I want to do it again. So when we come to Krishna, the reaction of that person which I gave pain, like that I did so many activities in many lives. All that reactions, Krishna will hold it. Krishna says, I will give based on when I should give. He may remove some of the things he will keep and he will give here and there. But the tendency to beat is still there. That I have to work hard to overcome. That is by Sharanagati. So when we, that is what is holding us. So we have to work hard and show sincerity to Krishna. Krishna, I don't want to have the tendency to beat others. Please help me come out of it. And slowly, Krishna sees this. This fellow is really sincere. So Krishna removes. So in that way, we are free. Clear? Yeah, identifying ourselves as servant is where it starts. All the things starts for us. Naham vipro na chanarpati, napi vaishyo na shudra. I am not a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya. I am servant of my spiritual master and Krishna. So when we have this identity, that is the safest identity we have. This is what we have to cultivate every day. When we are chanting, we are saying, Krishna, I want to serve you. I want to be your servant. And whenever we are doing any activity, we are doing with this mood. We want to serve only. And this is how we will make progress. We want to be servants. What I am doing, I am serving Bhagavatam. I am serving all of you. What you are doing, you are serving Bhagavatam. So whole day we want to serve only. We want to remain a servant of Krishna whole day. With your family, you are servant of your family because Krishna sent them. You serve all your family members. You may have to chastise your children as a service to Krishna only. I have to go to office and make money as servant of Krishna and get that money and serve Krishna. So there also I am servant of Krishna. So that identity will never lose. That's to the degree we am conscious about it, na, that how much advancement I made. So I'm always conscious with the fact. That means that is how I'm advancing. That is actually the sign of our advancement. Whole day I'm remembering. Then where is the question of any sinful activity only? I'm servant of Krishna. How can I do this? Of course, this is very not so easy. Even we remember I am servant of Krishna, but we want to do whatever we want to do. Okay. Any questions, comments on this topic? Then we will just take some Prabhupada purports. Hope it is clear. So now here Suta Goswami is continuing. See Sukha Vacha Evam etat pura prishto Maitreyo Bhagavan Kila Kshatta Vanam Pravishtena Tektva Swagraham Vriddhimat. This is Sudha Goswami said, O king, after Vidura, the great devotee renounced his prosperous home and entered the forest. He asked these very questions of his, his grace Maitreya Rishis. So here, this is Kshattara is Vidura. The Vidura, he actually asks. Now I told Bhagavatam is a discussion, it's all a question answers because we need to get answers for certain questions. And here every there is always the questions are first told. This is a question and then discussion happened. This is a question discussion happened. Yadva ayam mantra kridvo Bhagavan Akhileshwaraha Pauravendra Graham Hitva Prave Praviveshatmasat Kritam. He says that what else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter the house of as if it were his own, and he did not care at all for Duryodhana's house. And Prabhupada is telling, according to Gaudiya Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva philosophy, anything which satisfies the sense of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is also Sri Krishna. For example, Sri Vrindavan Dham is non-different from Sri Krishna, Tad Dhama Vrindavana, because at Vrindavan the Lord enjoys the transcendental bliss of his internal potency. Similarly, the house of Pandavas was also a source of transcendental bliss for Lord. It is mentioned here that the Lord identified the house with his own self. Thus, the house of Pandavas was as good as Vrindavan, and Vidura should not have given up that place of transcendental bliss. Therefore, the reason for his quitting the house was not exactly a family misunderstanding. Rather, Vidura took the opportunity to meet Rishi Maitreya and discuss transcendental knowledge. For a saintly persons like Vidura, any disturbance due to worldly affair is insignificant. Such disturbance, however, are sometimes favorable for higher realization. And therefore, Vidura took advantage of a family misunderstanding in order to meet Maitreya Rishi. This is very important because to understand Krishna, we have to hear from devotees. Even Krishna is present in front of us. We should more give preference to hearing from devotees because we will not be able to deal with Krishna unless we hear from devotees. It's not that deity worship. We need to hear Bhagavatam to do deity worship so nicely. People have deities. So many people have. There are so many temples in India of Krishna, Lord Krishna, and Radha Krishna also. But what is lacking? There is no Bhagavad Gita. That's why they are not able to serve them properly. People come, just take darshan, take some selfies, and go away. But they don't know that they need to serve them. That when they will know when they hear Bhagavatam. That's why here Vidura is telling, okay, Krishna is coming here, but let me go and hear about him so that I will be able to understand him honestly. And here it says, Raja Vacha Kutra Kshutra Bhagavata मैत्रेयेण ससङ्गमा कदा वा सह संवादा एतद्वर्णय नः प्रभो. This is the king asked Suta Goswami. Now this is the question. Where and when did the meeting and discussion take place between Saint Vidura and His Grace Maitreya Muni? Kindly oblige, my lord, and describe this all. So you want to know where and when it happened, and further you want to know what they discussed. Like exactly as Savan Rishi requested to Suta Goswami, and Suta Goswami replied. So Srila Sukadeva Goswami replied to King Parikshit's inquiries. The king was very anxious to understand the meaningful discussion that took place between the two great souls. Nahi अल्पार्थयोदस्य न हि अल्पार्थदस्यस्त्स्य विदुरस्यामलात्मनः तस्मिन् वर्णीयसि प्रश्न साधुवादोपब्रह्मिता. He says that Saint Vidura was a great and pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his questions to His Grace Rishi Maitreya must have been very purposeful on the higher level and approved by learned circles. Prabhupada writes nice purport. He says question and answers among different classes of men have different value. Inquiries by mercantile men in a business exchange cannot be expected to be highly purposeful in spiritual values. Questions and answers by different classes of men can be guessed by caliber of the person's concern. In the Bhagavad Gita, the discussion was between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the supreme person and the supreme devotee respectfully. The Lord admitted Arjuna to be his devotee and friend, and therefore any sane man can guess that the discussion was on the topic of Bhakti Yoga system. Actually, the whole Bhagavad Gita is principles based on the principle of Bhakti Yoga. There is a difference between karma and karma yoga. Karma is regulated action for enjoyment of fruits by the performer, but karma yoga is action performed by the devotee for the satisfaction of Lord. Karma yoga is based on bhakti or pleasing the Lord, whereas karma is based on pleasing the senses of the performer himself. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one is advised to approach a bona fide spiritual master when one is actually inclined to question from an elevated level of spiritual understanding. A common man who has no interest in spiritual values and has no need to approach a spiritual master just as a matter of following fashion. As a student, Maharaj Parikshit was serious about learning the science of God, and Suta Goswami was a bona fide spiritual master in the transcendental science. Both of them knew that the topic discussed by Vidura and Rishi Maitreya were elevated, and thus Maharaj Parikshit was very interested in learning about them from his bona fide spiritual master. So we'll just take one last look. Suta Vacha Sa Evam Rishi Varyo Ayam Prishto Rajna Parikshita Pratyaha Tam Subha with Pritatma Suryatam iti. He says that Srila Suta Goswami, now the conversation is between Suta Goswami and Sanaka Rishi. Suta Goswami said, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami was highly experienced and was pleased with the king. Thus being questioned by the king, he said to him, please hear the topics attentively. So tomorrow onwards we'll hear the topics attentively. Thank you all very much. Any questions, comments? We'll end here. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्ण.